Hey, welcome back guys. It's Alex from Strength Hacks. Going over the top 5 squat tips today. This is going to finish off the 3 big lifts, but I do have a few more top 5 tips ideas planned out. You can drop a comment down below if there's anything you would like me to make a top 5 tips video for, and I'll do it as soon as I can. So before I get into the top 5 tips, just make sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video because I have a lot more great content coming out soon and you do not want to miss it, so hit the bell too. So anyways, without further ado, the first tip will be to add in box squats. Even better, speed box squats. If you're gonna have a nice program, I really recommend the conjugate method, which incorporates speed box squats and speed deadlifts on dynamic effort lower body day. And then, the other part to that would be max effort lower body days, which is usually done earlier in the week. And once you start training this way, you'll never want to go back. It's a lot of fun. It's easy on the body. Just has a lot of variability in how you can program it, which is nice because you can adapt it to almost any situation. Alright, so the first reason why these are great is because they increase your rate of force development. Now this is just a fancy way to say that you're going to move the bar faster because you're becoming more powerful and more explosive. And then if you want to add bands on there and do banded box squats, that's going to increase the rate of force development even more. It's a great tool for athletes that are looking to get an edge on the playing field just because of how they have to react when they're walking back the squats. The bands whip you back. They get you used to dealing with really heavy eccentric forces or just intense eccentric forces due to the overspeed eccentric, and then having to explode back up off the box. Just your legs get really snappy, really powerful. I haven't had much power in my legs until I started incorporating these. Also, the box squats are going to reinforce a posterior dominant squatting style where you shoot the hips back first and then break the knees. This is going to fully engage your glutes and hamstrings. It's also going to be safer on the knees because the posterior chain is going to kick in and it's going to make it so your quads and knees don't have to take the entire load. And it's great because that's going to help you move more weight too because you're recruiting more muscles into the movement. And then last but not least, to help those with depth issues, I really recommend the box squat because it's going to force you. If you squat too high, the box is going to make you go lower. Now, granted, this is only if you're using a box that's between parallel or like 2 inches below parallel, depending on your competition goals and whatnot. I usually use about a 12-inch box, and that works perfect for me. Puts me about an inch under parallel. So if you squat too deep, that's going to make you stop beforehand, before going way too low to where you lose power. And if like I said earlier, if you squat too high, you're not going to touch the box, and you're not going to be doing a box squat. So if you regularly practice the box squat, it's going to train your body to go down to that proper depth without thinking about it, which really helps out because when you're under a heavy load, you don't want to be thinking, you just want to do. That's going to give you the best performance. Moving on to tip number 2, it's going to be to bend the bar over your back or pull your elbows down. If you have the bar on your back, you want to kind of pretend like you're bending it like a straight bar into a horseshoe. Pull the lats down, pull the elbows down. It's going to engage your upper body, keep your back tight. It's going to remove any kinks in your kinetic chain. When your whole body's activated, you can use more muscles and you can move more weight. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard about muscular irradiation. Basically just saying, like, if you're benching and you squeeze that bar as hard as you can, you're going to have more forearm muscle come into play. It's going to be more stable. You're going to be able to move more weight, which is, always a great thing for strength. So when you do this, it's going to bring more muscles into the lift, and it's going to make them all fire harder too, because when you contract a muscle as hard as you can, that's firing up your nervous system to go all in. So if you're not doing this, it's going to be bad news. You're missing or leaving tons of pounds on the table. It's kind of like benching without leg drive. Your strength potential is going to be very limited. And I just really recommend this cue because it's going to keep your back locked in place. It will reduce your chances of getting rounded forward and getting thrown out of position, which messes up many of good attempts. Number 3 is going to be to root your feet. Now I know this cue has gotten a lot of flack lately. I don't know why. It goes back to my last point with muscular radiation. if you're contracting more muscles, you're going to be more stable. You're going to be able to fire your muscles harder. You're going to be able to move more weight. So I don't know why people are hating on this. I mean, Chris Duffin vouches for it, so if he's saying it works, then it definitely works. The guy knows what he's talking about. And if you have flat feet or, very small arches in your feet, this tip's even more important, because if you're squatting with a flat foot, it puts a lot more stress into your knee, and you don't want that. You're just asking for a knee injury. So this root your feet tip, it's best implemented with 2 cues. You can either do the tripod foot, which is just imagining you have 3 points of contact. I'll use my hand to kind of demonstrate. So you got your big toe up here, imagine, your pinky toe, and then the heel of your foot. And you just press them all down into the ground as hard as you can while curling up the middle, or curling up the arch of your foot. And that's going to put your foot into a good posture, allow your ankles and knees and hips to move better. And then if you want to do the screw your feet cue, this is the one that I use. You imagine the same 3 points of contact, but you push them down and twist them outwards at the same time, kind of like working on it, rotating a screw. You go to the left for your left foot and to the right for your right foot. So here's, just imagine I got my right foot here, and I plant my big toe, plant my pinky, plant the heel, and then I twist outwards. And it's just as simple as that. It's going to add pounds to your squat, I guarantee it. If you're not squatting barefoot or in a minimalist shoe like the Vibram, I recommend you start doing so. Now we got number 4. That's going to be to add in good mornings to your workouts. I'm never going to stop preaching for people to start doing this exercise. If you like RDLs, I recommend the good morning. You'll probably like it even more. You can get in more volume. You'll feel better the next day. You'll build more hamstring. You'll definitely build more back too. It's the best accessory you can do because it shoots up your squat and your deadlift. And since it builds really good back strength, it's going to lower your chances of injury in lifting and in everyday life. Most people don't like the good morning. They think it has a high injury risk because of old folks' tales. Look what happened to Bruce Lee. He was a 150-pound dude doing 315 good mornings for reps, and he ended up snapping his back. He probably got injured because he had sloppy form and bad programming. He may have been going too heavy too often. I don't really know what he was doing, but doing double your body weight on good mornings, that's pretty absurd. So it's a very low chance that he was doing it perfectly because he was a martial artist, not, a strength athlete. Another good thing about the good morning, it's going to make it so you can finish reps where you get pitched forward or miss groove in the squat. The good morning, it is a squat / hinge where you are pitched forward. Now, practicing a specific motion makes you very strong when you're in that position. So if you get pitched forward on a squat, you're already used to being there due to all the good mornings that you do on your, your accessory work. And that's going to lower your injury risk too if you end up tipping forward on a squat. And, the best part is it's going to make you very likely to finish that rep and grind it out and break a new PR. All right, so just wrapping it up with the good morning. You really want to do it because it has a great stimulus to fatigue ratio. You can get a lot out of a light weight, which is going to allow you to do more volume and with a shorter amount of breaks in between. That way, your weekly volume is going to be higher on the hamstrings and whatnot. But it will be volume that you can actually recover from, which is going to allow you to progress faster and just build big muscles, especially hamstrings. My hamstrings get really sore from good mornings, unlike anything else. And if you have huge hamstrings that are big enough, you can bounce out of them, out of the hole in the squat, kind of like how big biceps help you bench more weight. So let me show you actually. So I'll just step back, and you got my hamstring here, and when I go down, let's see here. Alright, so when I come down, and when I pass parallel, the hamstring kind of bunches up and hits my calf, and then I can have my hamstrings bounce off my calves and help propel me out of the hole. Pretty similar to them guys that got caught putting tennis balls in their knee wraps. It's the same concept. If you have something in there to create better leverage, it's going to allow you to easily lift more weight. Last but not least is tip number 5. It's the tempo technique warm-up. Now, you may have seen this recently on Instagram if you follow Squat University. He reposted this old great video from Ed Cohn, and he's showing you how to get your body to efficiently move on the way down, and that's going to set you up for success when you're coming back up and finishing the lift. You want to go very slow, pause every few inches, probably about 8 times total on the way down. And you want the rep to take about 10 seconds. That way you're taking your time, feeling where your body, feels best in those positions on the way down. That way it goes down perfectly and it can come back up perfectly. Now, you don't want to go too heavy. I recommend 45 to 135 pounds, depending on how strong you are. And you're going to do this before you start your squat session. Perform, 2 to 3 of them each time you do your lower body workouts, and that way your technique gets dialed in over time, and you won't have to think about the way down with a heavy weight because it's ingrained in your brain. And since you don't have to think about it, you can just do what you do and move heavy weight. So one last bonus tip, I have to throw this in because it threw a wrench into my squatting progress for a while, and that was me squeezing my glutes excessively at the top, putting myself into posterior pelvic tilt, and that's gonna just waste a lot of energy. It can raise your chances of injury, especially if you do so under load, because it's a rounding, a flexion of the lumbar spine. And you also have to re-rotate your pelvis back into a slight anterior pelvic tilt before the next rep. So, just wasting all this time and energy while the bar is on your back, that's going to lead to less performance, less strength, less muscle growth. It's just a bad situation overall. And that's all I have to say today for the top 5 squat tips. I hope you found them useful. If you haven't been doing any of these things, definitely try them out. I guarantee they're going to add some pounds onto your max squat. And if that happens, leave a comment down below. Let everyone know that these tips work. That way they'll be more inclined to try them out themselves. And that just about wraps today's video up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. It's growing faster than ever. I'm almost at 100 subs. When I first started out, I never thought I'd get here just because the growth was so slow. So, I appreciate every one of you guys. Keep being awesome. Keep liking the videos. And have a nice day.